When I speak Japanese, I always translate from English, so it takes time. I'm always at a loss as to what order I should say things. I'd like to think in Japanese, but how? Have you ever had these kinds of problems? Then this video is for you. Hi, I'm Fumi from Speak Japanese Naturally. Have you struggled with creating Japanese sentences? I understand the struggle you feel when you try to make Japanese sentences because I felt the same thing when I started learning English. The word order is completely different, so I didn't know how to make English sentences. So today, as a learner myself and a Japanese teacher who organizes a Japanese website that now has over 1,000 learners, I'd like to teach you the very basic fundamentals about how to structure Japanese sentences. In other words, I will talk about how to create a Japanese brain. Nihongo no. No means brain. Among Japanese people studying English, it's often said that creating English brain, 英語の, is crucial for speaking English. This means thinking in English from the start, rather than translating from Japanese to English. Since Japanese and English have very different word orders, beginners tend to think in Japanese first and then try to translate it into English. So it takes time and it feels frustrating. I believe beginners of Japanese do the same thing, thinking in English first, then try to translate it into Japanese. I made this video for those of you who are struggling with this. To break free from translating, today let's learn how to create a Japanese brain, Nihongo no. In a recent video, I introduced a method to help you understand Japanese sentences in the Japanese word order by parsing them with slashes. It's for improving your listening and reading skills, so if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend you do. Today's topic is a step ahead of the video because this video explains how Japanese sentences are constructed. Understanding it means understanding the Japanese word order, and acquiring it means creating a Japanese brain so that you don't have to translate anymore. Once you know how, it will be easier for you not only to speak, but also to listen. This is because when you listen, you can mentally be prepared with your Japanese brain to expect what will be said and in what order. To summarize the concept, let's use the phrase zoom in and zoom out. English brain zooms out, while the Japanese brain zooms in. What do I mean by that? First, let's see an English sentence for comparison. I watched YouTube videos at home yesterday. When talking about yourself in English, you start with yourself first. Then you move on from things closer to yourself to things farther. So first you say I, then you say what you did. In this case, you watched. What you watched, in this case, YouTube videos, comes after that because it's closest to watched. Then, where it happened, at home, and the time, yesterday, is last. So you and the thing you did are the main point, which you follow with the surrounding pieces of information from closest to farthest, one by one. So if you are an English speaker, that's how your brain works. That's how you think, right? That's the normal way for you to describe a situation. But now you'll have to change the way you think when you speak in Japanese. You need to create a Japanese brain. And how does a Japanese brain work? With the Japanese brain, you start from surrounding information and the main point comes last. Let's use the same sentence. I watched YouTube videos at home yesterday. First, the Japanese brain wants to say 昨日, yesterday, and then 家で, at home, because Japanese brains wants to know when and where the thing a speaker will say took, takes, or will take place first. After that, Japanese brain says YouTube 動画を. Since the speaker added the particle を after YouTube 動画, the Japanese brains will expect the next phrase to be something related to YouTube videos. And finally, as predicted, the verb related to YouTube videos comes, which is 見ました。昨日家で YouTube 動画を見ました。So it's completely different, right? The English brain starts with yourself and adds surrounding information, while the Japanese brain starts from surrounding information and zooms in towards the center, the main point. English zooms out, whereas Japanese zooms in. So please remember, with the Japanese brain, you zoom in when you speak Japanese. This zooming in concept applies to almost everything. Now let's think about adjectives and adverbs, which are used to modify other words. The zooming in concept also applies to them. You start with surrounding information and end with the center, the main point. First, let's think about adjectives. Adjectives modify nouns. So the main point is the noun. Thus, the noun comes last. 綺麗な人、面白い話. Not only adjectives, but also phrases modify nouns, regardless of whether it's an adjective or phrase. Anything that modifies a noun comes before the noun, because the noun is the main point and the main point comes last. For example, 昨日行ったレストランで食べたお寿司。昨日行った explains レストラン and 昨日行ったレストランで食べた explains お寿司. This explanatory part also starts with surrounding information. The restaurant I went to yesterday is 昨日行ったレストラン. The time 昨日 comes before the verb. Then after the verb, the noun レストラン comes. 昨日行ったレストラン is the place. So you say that first with the particle で Then you say 食べた the verb before the main part お寿司 and you can make a sentence like 昨日行ったレストランで食べたお寿司は美味しかったです Wa is a topic marker. The Japanese brain wants to indicate the topic first, so the part marked with wa comes before the main part, which in this case is 美味しかったです In this sentence, there's no watashi. But when you say this sentence to someone else, it's clear that the person who ate sushi is you. So you don't have to say watashi. Here's another point when you create the Japanese brain. When who is clear, there's no need to say it. Now let's think about adverbs. Adverbs modify verbs, adjectives, adverbs, and phrases. For example, いつもとてもゆっくり歩く to always walk very slowly. いつも modifies とてもゆっくり歩く and とても modifies ゆっくり which is an adverb and とてもゆっくり modifies 歩く. So modifiers come before verbs and you can make a sentence like this. 祖母は足が悪いのでいつもとてもゆっくり歩きます. My grandmother always walks very slowly because her legs are weak. 祖母 is the topic, so it's marked with wa and indicated first. 足が悪いので is the explanation of いつもとてもゆっくり歩きます. The Japanese brain says the reason before the main part, いつもとてもゆっくり歩きます. Again, surrounding information comes first. So when you create a sentence, always start with surrounding information and the main part comes last. One thing that I have to add is that since Japanese has particles that indicates how a word works in a sentence, you can change the word order. In English, word order is strict. For example, you can't say I sushi ate. But in Japanese, you can say 私食べましたお寿司を In this case, you can even drop the particle o after お寿司私食べましたお寿司 The sentence sounds like you're emphasizing that you ate, but still it's grammatically correct. So in Japanese, due to the presence of particles, the word order is relatively flexible. But starting with surrounding information and zooming into detail is a natural way of speaking. Now let's think about the order of nouns, such as expressing dates and addresses with the Japanese brain. First, dates. The Japanese brain starts with the largest concept, the year, then the month, and finally, the day. If you want to add the time, it comes after the date. It's like this. 今は2024年7月20日午後3時30分です。You say 午後 in the afternoon before stating the time. If you want to add the day, you place it after the date. 今は2024年7月20日土曜日午後3時30分です。Again, you can see the concept that the Japanese brain works like zooming in. Now, addresses. First, you write the zip code, then the prefecture name. Japan has 47 prefectures. Then the city name, then the area name. And finally, the number. It looks like this. 400-8585山梨県甲府市丸の内1-18-1. Again, you see how the Japanese brain zooms in. Now let's do an exercise. Please look at the picture and describe the situation in Japanese. Suppose you are the rabbit. Turn on your Japanese brain. I'll give you 10 seconds. Okay, it's about yesterday, so you start with the word 昨日. There are many ways to describe the situation depending on what you focus on. If I want to say the reason I was surprised, I'd say 昨日ドアを開けたら雨が降っていたので驚きました. Here are some other examples. 昨日雨が降ると思っていなかったのでびっくりしました. 昨日雨が降っていたので出かけられませんでした. 昨日買い物に行きたかったのに雨だったので行けませんでした. What was your sentence? Please write it in the comments. If you want my correction, please let me know. I read all of your comments. They encouraged me a lot. They give me the strength to go on. Thank you so much. Today, I'd like to introduce this comment. アンドレアさんからです. Finally, the lesson I needed the most. English is not my first language. I live in Europe, but I learned Japanese the same way, to translate Japanese sentences from the ending. And it was hard and a little bit confusing, so I always wanted to not just to translate, but also to understand the meaning of a sentence the right way, like you showed us here. So thank you for this. Thank you, Andrea-san. I'm glad to hear that the video's concept matched your needs. And I'm kind of sure, this video's concept also matches your needs. I'd like to know what you think. Lastly, let me introduce my subscription course. For those of you who want to improve how you sound in speaking, I have a subscription course where you can systematically learn Japanese pronunciation, rhythm, pitch, accent, and intonation. I strive to make the course authentic, so it doesn't look like entertainment. It's a rather serious course, so it might not for everyone, but for those of you who are eager to learn Japanese phonetics for improving your pronunciation, the course should be interesting and enjoyable. I don't see any other Japanese phonetics courses taught by native Japanese teachers, so if you like how I speak Japanese, it's worth considering. I recently added a premium plan, which is a yearly subscription plan that gives you an equivalent of 2 months free and includes 2 private sessions with me at no cost. Since it includes private sessions, the number of participants might be limited. So if you're interested in, please check it sooner. That's it for today. Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel and recommend it to your friends. Thank you so much and see you soon. またね